In June of 1947, a Morse code message crackled across the radios of every ship in the Strait of Malacca. It read, S.O.S. from S.S. Ourang Medan. We float. All officers, including the captain, dead in the chartroom and on the bridge. Probably whole of crew dead. Then, after a burst of garbled dots and dashes, two final words came through, I die. And then silence. What the rescue crew found when they boarded that ship is one of the most disturbing scenes in maritime history. And 76 years later, the explanation might be worse than anyone imagined. The Strait of Malacca sits between Malaysia and the island of Sumatra. It is one of the most important and most dangerous waterways on Earth. A quarter of the world's traded goods pass through it every single day. For centuries, it has been a corridor for pirates, smugglers, and ships that were never meant to be found. In 1947, it was also a dumping ground for the leftovers of the Second World War. These included chemical stockpiles, biological agents, and weapons that no government wanted to admit existed. And somewhere in that corridor, a Dutch freighter called the Ourang Medan was drifting with no engine running, no lights, and no sign of life. The American merchant ship Silver Star was the first to reach her. They shouted, they waved, nothing. So they sent a boarding party across. What those men walked into would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The decks of the S.S. Ourang Medan were covered in bodies. Every single crew member was dead. Their eyes were wide open, their mouths were stretched into silent screams. Their arms were raised as if trying to push something away. The captain was found on the bridge. The officers were slumped in the chartroom and wheelhouse. The radio operator who had presumably sent that final SOS was still at his station, his fingers resting on the transmitting key, frozen in the act of dying. Even the ship's dog was dead, locked in a snarl, baring its teeth at something no one could see. But here is what shook the rescue crew to their core. There were no wounds on any of the bodies, no blood, no signs of a struggle, no damage to the ship itself. Whatever killed these people did it without leaving a single mark. And the temperature on that equatorial sea was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet the men who boarded the Ourang Medan reported feeling a chill so deep it seemed to come from inside the ship itself. The captain of the Silver Star made the decision to tow the ghost ship back to port. Lines were attached. But before they could get underway, smoke began pouring from the number 4 cargo hold. The crew barely had time to cut the tow ropes. The Ourang Medan exploded with such force that the ship lifted clear out of the water. Then it came crashing back down and sank beneath the surface, taking every body, every clue, and every answer with it. Now, a mystery like this should have been investigated. It should have generated reports, inquiries, official records. But here is where this story takes a turn nobody expected. The steamship Ourang Medan does not appear in Lloyd's Register of Ships, the international database that has cataloged every merchant vessel since 1764. There is no registration in the Netherlands. There is no build record. There is no crew manifest. There is no insurance filing. The Silver Star was real, but its own ship logs contain no mention of a distress call, a rescue, or a fire. For all official purposes, the Ourang Medan never existed. So how do we know about it at all? The entire story traces back to one man, an Italian journalist named Silvio Shirley, who lived in Trieste. Shirley said an unnamed German sailor, the sole survivor of the Ourang Medan crew, washed ashore on Taongi Atoll in the Marshall Islands. Before he died, the sailor told a missionary that the ship had been carrying a secret cargo from a small Chinese port bound for Costa Rica. The cargo was sulfuric acid, potassium cyanide, and nitroglycerin, all badly stored in disguised containers. The fumes leaked, the crew suffocated. The chemicals eventually reacted with seawater, triggering the explosion. But that is the polite version. The darker theory connects the Ourang Medan to Unit 731, a covert division of the Imperial Japanese Army that conducted some of the most horrific experiments in human history. Unit 731 specialized in biological and chemical weapons, tested on living prisoners, and after Japan's surrender, the United States secretly granted its leader, General Shiro Eshi, full immunity in exchange for his research data. The theory is this. After the war, stockpiles of nerve agents and biological weapons needed to disappear. You could not fly them. You could not ship them on any registered vessel. So you loaded them onto an unmarked tramp steamer with a foreign crew, and you hoped for the best. If the Ourang Medan was carrying remnants of Unit 731's work, then the cover-up makes perfect sense. Erase the ship from every registry. Deny it ever sailed. Let the ocean keep the secret. But there is one more problem. The earliest known version of this story was published in 1940 in a Trieste newspaper. That was 7 years before the supposed incident in 1947. The same journalist, the same city, different dates, different locations, different details, which means either Silvio Shirley reported on 2 separate ghost ships with identical circumstances, or he told the same story twice, embellishing it each time. The Ourang Medan may be the greatest maritime mystery ever told, or it may be the greatest maritime lie. Either way, something inspired it, because the crew positions described, the faces locked in terror, the arms raised as if fighting an invisible attacker, those details match what happens to a human body exposed to nerve agents like taban, which blocks the neurotransmitter that tells muscles to relax. The bodies would contort, the faces would freeze, and the gas would dissipate long before any rescue crew arrived, leaving no trace. Whether the Ourang Medan was real or invented, the science behind the horror is not fiction. Somewhere in the Strait of Malacca, in waters where a quarter of the world's trade still passes every day, either a ship full of dead men rests on the ocean floor, or a story was built so carefully that 80 years of investigation cannot kill it. And honestly, it is hard to say which of those possibilities is more unsettling. If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe for more stories like this.